Medal of Liberty. What started out as a way to pay tribute to 12 naturalized Americans has become something of a controversy. Barbara, you were a member of the committee that chose the winners. What happened?
Well, Peter, the recipients, 11 men and 1 woman, were chosen on the basis of their accomplishments, not on their ethnic heritage, because it seemed to us that the meaning of America is that we are all Americans, no matter where we come from. But after the selections were announced, there were protests from different ethnic groups not represented. But if I may say so, to include every ethnic minority would have made for a very, very long list and may well have defeated the purpose of the medal.
Well, there may be controversy over who was not chosen, but certainly those who were are men and women of accomplishment. Barbara's been talking to 3 of them.
Itzhak Perlman is considered by many to be the greatest living violinist, and it was that musical talent which brought him to America when he was only 13 years old.
I left all my friends in Israel. I did not speak the language. It was a very traumatic experience. It was very exciting at the same time because to appear on television, we didn't even have television in Israel.
Born in Tel Aviv in 1945, Perlman says he can't remember a time when he didn't want to play the violin. Remaining in America after the Ed Sullivan Show, he became the family breadwinner. Amazing, because when he was just 4 years old, he was stricken with polio, but his arms were not affected, and the violin became his life. Perlman is now 40. For 30 of those years, audiences throughout the world have been dazzled by his talent and charmed by his impish humor.
I must tell you, I never played that piece before.
Itzhak married fellow violinist and Juilliard graduate Toby Friedlander in 1967. They now have a family of 5, ranging in age from 2 to 17.
I have been very, very lucky with the attitudes of my parents when I grew up. I'm talking about the ability to do something despite a disability. For being able to live as I want to live, to have the opportunities if I deserve them, and not have anybody tells me, well, you can't do this because your religion is wrong, or because your physical condition is not right, or so on. That, for me, is liberty.
We brought these 3 distinguished men together to discuss freedom. I began by asking Itzhak Perlman how he felt when he became an American citizen.
Just the thought of being able to vote was quite exciting to me, and also the power, if you want, of the American passport. You know, that when you go out abroad and you show the Israeli passport, and boy, they start to look at you and, where do you come from, this and that. It was a kind of a bittersweet sort of thing, Here you give the American passport and it's, thank you, goodbye. That was it.
Each of you came from different backgrounds and for different reasons came to this country. But all of you are immigrants. Does it make, do you think, a difference at all in the way you think today?
It just never occurred to me that this was something special, except I did know that I couldn't be president of the United States because I wasn't born here.
Well, I suppose when you arrive at an early enough age, you feel that you just belong in a place. Yeah. And I always say that where I come from, which happens to be Israel, and it's a free country, I think that I do not appreciate quite as much as maybe you would appreciate, Dr. Kissinger, the real difference of what freedom really means,
But Henry Kissinger can't be president of the United States either.
Don't think it doesn't bother
me. You were the first naturalized Secretary of State.
Yes. I was Secretary of State in a very controversial period. But there was one criticism that was never made, namely, nobody ever wrote, what are you doing with an accent being Secretary of State of this country? And I don't think a naturalized citizen could become foreign minister or secretary of state of any other country in the world. I came from a totalitarian country. And at the age of 15, leaving one's friends, even under those conditions, is a sort of traumatic experience. On the other hand, to me, the experience of freedom was novel and important.
The writer James Baldwin, your friend, has said that, I'm quoting, for a black American, the Statue of Liberty is simply a bitter joke. It means nothing to blacks.
No, I don't think it means nothing. Like, I think it means quite a bit. It means that, look, here is a symbol of hope that's being offered to immigrants. And if hope and opportunity is being offered to immigrants, we ought to insist upon the opportunities for those of us who are involuntary immigrants.
What do you think is the greatest threat to freedom? With everything that we have in this country, and we have so much, it's not perfect. What do you think is the greatest threat to freedom here?
Well, the greatest threat, I suppose, is forgetting what freedom is all about.
My overwhelming interest in preoccupation has been with foreign policy. So I think for us, it is important to remember that free peoples everywhere depend on the cause of freedom, and that much depends on whether the United States stands for freedom around the world and stands by its friends.
Dr. Clark?
I saw in the New York Times front page story not so long ago the number of blacks who were saying that the problems of the underclass blacks really are their own problems. And it was interesting to me that those who were saying that were those who had benefited from the struggles of an earlier generation. What is the greatest threat to freedom? It is the shortness of the memory of human beings.
The Statue of Liberty has welcomed many millions here on Governor's Island. The awards will be given to those 12 distinguished Americans, and you can watch the Medal of Liberty tonight.
He showed signs of great musical ability at a tender age, and an attack of polio when he was 4 did nothing to diminish his gift. His parents brought him to America from Israel to continue his violin studies, and he has since carved out a remarkable career, not only as a virtuoso, but also as an able and vociferous spokesman for the disabled. A world-class artist who has brought music and inspiration to the world, the Medal of Liberty is awarded tonight to Itzhak Perlman.
When Barbara talked to Itzhak Perlman the other day, they talked about his first appearance in America on the Ed Sullivan Show, for those of you who remember it. He's picked up every American habit possible. He's a great poker player. He loves basketball and baseball.
He was only 13.